Peace and love, family. How is everyone doing? Thank you for joining us for another edition of the RAM Book Club, Resurgence of the African Mind, where we seek to liberate African minds by reading one unit of work at a time. We are starting with The Blueprint for Black Power. Yes, indeed, by Baba Amos Wilson. If you don't have your copy, get your copy. Indeed. Chapter 9 is what we're hitting on today, family. Chapter 9, we're going to talk about policy formation process. But before I do that, let me give you a brief rundown. Chapter 8, we talked about the power processes of the ruling class, political, economic, and ideological processes of the ruling class, the power elite, processes of U.S. domination, lobbyists and committees, and we also talked about Blacks and government. Now, Chapter 9, we're going to get into the functions of the policy planning groups, role and functions of selected influential policy planning groups. We're going to talk about think tanks, leading think tanks, foundations, education for servitude, foundations and think tanks, the need for African-centered information, and we're also going to talk about, on the Black hand side, Black power networks and institutions of higher learning. My name is Alima Njai, aka Alima La Poete, or Lily La Poete Speaks. I'm going to share my website, and I will provide for you the links to the active discussion as well as to join the panel. Okay. Let me make sure I do this right. You know, Dr. Maat usually do this for me.
I'm sorry, sis. I'm up here. You want me to pull it up, sis, or?
Okay, I think I got it. Just let me know if y'all can see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is the website here, Lily La Poete Speaks. You can come here and you can subscribe to my blog, family. You can subscribe to our new posts, our new events. We have a marketplace here available. You can get your copy of Blueprint for Black Power. We have added it. You can also see some of the other things that we have available. I will keep you updated, family, every week on what it is that we are talking about. I will give you a brief rundown, because to give you the whole rundown would just be ridiculous. But you can come here and you can check every week. We can also have discussions here. We can blog. We can talk. You know, we should really, I just really want you guys to come and subscribe and check it out.
Wow, sis, I did not. Can you go back? Wow, it's kind of like you're creating a study guide.
I am.
For Black Power. This is could you go back, sis?
Good.
And see, this is very important because I have a lot of people who contact me on Facebook, and they'll say, sis, you know, I want to join the club, you know, but I'm behind. So it's kind of like you are providing them with Cliff Notes.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Cliff Notes, in a sense.
Yeah.
So they can just come right here and catch up. You know, so like if they're behind, they can come to your website and catch right up. I think also, Sister Aline, what I'm going to start doing is getting the links to you early, and then so when it's time to start the discussion, that it'll be a link to your webpage that has the links.
Okay.
So now, like, in order to even view the show or to join the show, you have to come here. You know. Instead of like, you know, normally, you know, I go through Facebook and I'll just disseminate all of the links in different groups.
Right.
What I do is just, I give you the links and you put it on your page. I take that link and then post that in different groups. Click here to join. So when they click that, they'll be routed to the RAM Book Club page on your website. And then they can click to join the Hangout or view the discussion via YouTube. I think that would be awesome.
Okay, that's fine. I'm with that, Queen.
Yeah, and I gotta let some of the sisters know, because there's a sister by the name of Darnetta Harn. She wants to join. A sister by the name of Nikki Petty. She wants to join. There are like a lot of different sisters who hit me up, and I'm like, well, just, you know, just you'll catch up. Just grab the book and start, you know. But they can come right to your website and get an overview of each chapter and then join.
Right.
So I'll make that suggestion to all of them. Okay. As well. It's beautiful what you're doing, sis. I just want to say it's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to go back through and check it out, you know, myself, and polish up on some of those terms that I see you listed in the chapters.
Yes,
man.
yes. Okay, well, let's let the panel introduce themselves.
Sister Camille, let's start with you, sis, because I just dropped something.
Hey, hi, family. My name is Camille Gaynor Jones. I am a drummer, musician, producer. I'm also a clinician and a teacher. I hail from New York City. I have a CD out entitled A Girl from Queens that you can purchase on iTunes or any of the other download sites like Rhapsody or CD Baby, Amazon, all that good stuff. And I am currently working on 2 books and a blog, and which the blog is going to be about modern coonism in the music business. So a lot of people don't understand what sambos and where it all came from. You know, where the beginnings of samboism and coonism came from, and that it was in the entertainment business, you know, in the 1800s. So that's what I'm doing, trying to enlighten young folks and keep the knowledge going. And it's an honor to be
Excellent.
Wonderful people.
Excellent. And sis, we love having you. And I'm looking forward to reading your book, by the way. When is that going to drop? I know you've been working hard on it.
I'm revamping it because as I get more information, I try to add more of, you know, the information as far as like the stuff that's in Dr. Amos Wilson's book, you know, the politics that we're missing and a lot of us don't understand, as well as the music business side. So I'm trying to tie the two in, you know, like correlations as far as your royalties and political side, what your royalties would mean as far as ownership, and where all the money comes from that, you know, the dominant culture, you know, has pilfered. So we kind of, I'm trying to tie the two in, where I give examples about how a person can get in the music business, what they should do, dress, blah, blah, blah. But then I also try to tie in some politics as far as, you know, our culture. So I'm revamping it over and over. So I'm almost, it's been a minute. So and also got to start dedicating more time to writing. You know, it's like crazy. I'm trying to work on my second record. I'm teaching, I have a curriculum. It's, you know.
Yeah, it's hectic, sis. It's hectic. I remember when I was going to grad school, there was, and she was also a part of my dissertation committee, Dr. Tina Cola. She said to me one time, she said, Deanna, you know, she said, there's not enough hours in a day, you know, to do what you wanted, to do what you need to do. And like, I totally concur with that. Like, it's just not enough hours out of the day. Like you said, it's like, I want to read, I want to, you know, produce curriculum, I want to produce additional products, you know, books, films. And like you said, it's just something doesn't get done. You know what I mean? Like, regardless. So
I'm trying to allocate some time, like an hour or two. I'm going to make like a, you know, like a schedule that I'm going to spend 2 hours doing this, 2 hours doing that, blah, and just like allocate my day like that. And just kind
excellent. I can do it. Like, you want to put yourself like on a schedule. I'm telling you, I totally get it. I totally get it. I see Brother Mpu. Brother Mpu, please introduce yourself to the viewers.
Hey, my sisters and brothers, peace and light, Black Power forever. Brother
Black
Andre Lyons, aka Mpu Haru. Currently have a site or study group called Empowering Us, Afrocentric study group, very similar to what we're doing here. Right now, we're studying the destruction of Black civilization.
Excellent book.
By Dr. Chancellor Williams. And I'm just here to learn and share. Peace.
Now, when does your group meet again? Is it on Mondays or Wednesdays?
It's on Wednesdays. And I do have a conference. We're meeting. Of course, you all can't be here because of where you are, but we meet at the library here in the city, in Erie, Pennsylvania. But our conference line is 515-604-9646. 515-604-9646. And the access code is 692679. 692679. That's Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Call, chime in.
I gotta be honest, brother. You were breaking up like crazy when you were giving the telephone number. Give it to us again. I want to make sure they have it.
All right. It's 515 604
Yes.
90.
What was the last four, brother?
9646.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it me, Sister Lima, or like, is he breaking up, or is it my computer?
He's choppy.
Yeah, he broke up on my end.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now,
And I'm telling you, go ahead, brother.
the access code is 69 26 79.
Got it.
You good?
Yes, we got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, these white devils don't want me to connect, but I'm gonna connect anyway.
Ashe.
Right, Ashe. Yeah, I would want to get in that, man. I've been telling you, I'm gonna come through. I definitely have to come through on a Wednesday. What chapter are you guys covering right now?
You gonna crack up, sis. We still in the overview. We still in chapter 1. So it's been like 3 or 4 weeks. Cause
I remember when he told me I had missed one Wednesday, and he was like, I think y'all didn't get out of the daggone intro. You said you talking and y'all you all didn't finish the daggone intro.
I don't feel bad now. We on the road.
Yeah, we on the road now.
We be rolling out now.
We on the road now.
Real talk. Let me share this, and I'm really amazed at how we're doing in Resurgence of the African Mind Book Club, because we move, but I think it's me and Dr. Maat. You're gonna have to help me, because we'll get stuck talking about current events, and then we'll go back, kind of like what we do here. But you and Sister Lima just keep us moving. So I may need one of y'all sisters to jump in and push me along, say, look, Brother Andre, let's keep moving. But it's all good. It's all good.
You say, Dr. Maat, we have to keep on pushing, or if I get carried away, she said,
Yeah.
Sister Lima does.
Because I know we can talk, and I know that this is the type of stuff that you can talk about all day.
Yes.
It really is. Like this is something you can build on all day. So I get it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I wake up 2 a.m. studying, and all day long. So this is a passion of mine. I'm sure you all feel the same way. So
indeed. Yes.
Absolutely. I tell people, Black liberation, there's no days off. There are no days off from Black liberation, for a Black liberator. There's no days off.
Absolutely.
It's like you eat and sleep this stuff. I think sometimes I wreck my family members' nerves, because every conversation is about Black empowerment, what we need to be doing, how we need to be moving. And sometimes they're like, give me a break.
Right.
I don't want to talk about Black empowerment today, but that's what's on my mind. So, it is what it is. Brother Travis? Brother Travis, introduce yourself to the listening audience, to the viewers.
Peace, fam. I'm having a little technical difficulties here, but I'm gonna try to stay in the group here. I'm out of Detroit. Again, my name is Brother Travis, aka Shamsu Netcher. I'm an IT professional here out in Detroit. Love the study group, and I'm definitely Brother Mpu. I'm gonna jump in your study group for that destruction of Black civilization. I read that in I think it was 89. Powerful book, and I definitely want to get into that study group as well, and get through that Chancellor Williams again. You got to read that book. You learn something every time you reread it. I probably read it about 3 or 4 times. Plus the rebirth. Plus the rebirth. His second book is The Rebirth of African Civilization.
Yes.
Which complements that, and he gets into the issues within Africa. So he brought it current in that rebirth. Again, I study IT, web developer, Facebook marketer, loving everything I'm getting out of the class.
Indeed.
Yes, happy to have you with us, Brother Travis. Happy to have you.
Yes.
Did you mention that I think you either teach or you speak the Meginetta? Is that correct, Brother Travis?
I study the Meginetta. I'm with various study groups in here in Detroit. And also I'm getting ready to study with Sister Raketti. I'm gonna sign up for her class.
Hey,
Studying the Meginetta. Yes, so, but I've been
yes,
studying that off and
clean,
on for quite some
clean.
time. Yes, indeed.
Fantastic. I gotta jump into class too. I know
I
that
know, me too, sis.
I
Let's do
I
it
gotta
together.
jump in. Woo. Sis, we gotta. When do you want to do
I
it? Because
don't
if you
care.
get
Let's
it,
do it. I'm ready.
you okay? All right, I'm gonna get
I've
in.
been playing
All right,
around here for a long time. I need.
Someone they say it's no joke. They said it's like taking a college course.
Yes, yes.
So and I've been wanting to take it, and I heard that they're like 3 different levels or something like that. It's just like 3 different levels, $300 per level or something like that.
Yep,
But
that's it.
I'm all for it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Baba
I'm
Bonacci
all
here in
for it.
Detroit
So,
teaches the introductory class. Baba Bonacci is one of her students. He's a prize student. He's great also. He teaches her introductory class. We might take him for the introductory class.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So when do you guys want to take the class? I think that would be awesome if we got in it. When do y'all want to do it? Top of the year?
Top of the year. That's what I
Okay,
think.
top of the year.
Top of the year? Okay, so top of the year, we'll all get into the intro. That's going to be interesting. And we'll be doing this in another book. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
All right, well, family, peace, and power. My name is Dr. Deanna Bailey, also known as dr.maat.msu. I am the co-founder of Ed Anime Production and the executive producer of the Meltrek series, which is an animated series that teaches children African history from an African perspective. I'm also a lecturer at the School of Engineering at Morgan State University. I teach digital communications, wireless communications, and next semester I will be teaching signal processing. I'm also the co-founder of Higher Minds Academy, an African-centered Saturday academy here in Baltimore. We were supposed to open on October the 7th, but we were unable to do so. So hopefully we get the Saturday Academy up and running by the beginning of November. I love this book club. I feel like we're like all becoming like one big family.
I know,
you know,
right?
like every Sunday, I know I'm gonna see Sister Lima. I know I'm gonna connect with Sister Camille. I'll ask Brother Travis and Brother Andre, and then the brothers and sisters who are in the chat room. So I love this. I love the camaraderie. I love the information that that I'm learning. You know, from this book, I've learned a whole lot. You know, I've learned a whole lot from Baba Amos Wilson. And again, I'm looking forward to the bill tonight. Chapter 9, the policy formation process.
Well, kick us off.
All right. Well, all right. So I'm on. We're going through chapter 9, starting on page 166, and tonight we're going to end, I guess, at the top of page 185, which would be sort of almost half.
Pretty much.
I didn't want to go into a new section. You know what I mean, Sister Alima?
Right.
Yeah, start a brand new section. So we'll go from page 166 to 185. The policy formation process. And I want you guys to recall from chapter 8, and I'm flicking back. I'm at chapter 8, page 154. Let's look back. Dr. Amos Wilson quotes from an author named Domhoff, and he quotes Domhoff a whole lot throughout Blueprint for Black Power. And on page 154, it says that Domhoff argues that the ruling class, working with the aid of highly trained and carefully selected employees, are able to dominate the United States at all levels by means of the following 4 processes. So he names the special interest process. He says which comprises the various means utilized by wealthy individuals, specific corporations, and specific sectors of the economy and influencing government to satisfy their narrow or short-run needs. The second process is the policy formation, which is the means by which general policies of interest to the ruling class as a whole are developed and implemented. All right. Then he names the candidate selection process and the ideology process. Okay. So there are 4 processes that Domhoff argues in his work that permits the ruling class to dominate the United States, okay? And tonight we'll be focusing on, Baba Amos Wilson dedicated an entire chapter to the policy formation process. Again, it says the policy formation process, which is the means by which general policies of interest to the ruling class as a whole are developed and implemented. So back to chapter 9, page 166. He begins the chapter with defining the word policy. So he says we may refer to policy rather informally or imprecisely, yet pragmatically, as the rules of the game, as the rules of power used to organize, direct, and regulate the activities, the production and consumption of the resources, internal and external social relations, and institutions of a society in order to defend and advance what it perceives as its overall interests. The policy process involves the means whereby a society attempts to reach certain self-defined goals or to satisfy certain social needs, and arrives at the rules by which it will govern its behavior in doing so. This process involves conflicting and collusive interactions between various groups of society who project different perceptions of its goals and needs, and who wish to legitimate and exercise different rules by which the society's goals are to be attained and its needs satisfied. Which group will get its views and rules, or a significant number of them, to prevail and accepted as legitimate views and rules adopted by the society as a whole, will depend on the social power. All right, and remember, in America, we got a lot of groups.
Yes.
You have, the Democrats, you got the Republics, the liberals, the conservatives, you got the LBGT, you have all these different people, right? So he's saying that, says which group will get its views and rules, or a significant number of them, to prevail and be accepted as legitimate views and rules adopted by the society as a whole, will depend on the social power and effectiveness of that group compared to other groups.
Mm-hmm.
Once rules are adopted and sanctioned by a society, once they are accepted as morally justified, they can themselves be used to justify and legitimate certain social relations, privileges, and prerogatives of individuals and groups relative to other individuals or groups. So let me, I don't want to bang on, I'm mentioning, the LBGTQ. I know they added some other additional letters to the organization, but they have amassed social power. And I'm just using this as an example. So they presented, they came up with some money. They all came together. They went to Barack Obama, who was initially against same-sex marriages. And, because this group is a very powerful group, they were able to go in and change policy. I mean, now you can get married. Same-sex couples can get married. So this is a group who wielded social power, so much so that they were able to influence federal policy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because of their social power and their effectiveness as a group. Even then, hold up, Sister Lima, and then they've also been able to shape the public opinions on homosexuality. Now you see it on television, you see it on shows. Hell, they have it in cartoons now. And I know that Disney, I had posted something about this on my Facebook page. There's a Disney cartoon that exposes children to same-sex couples. You got men and men kissing, women and women kissing. So not only did they change the policy, now they've been utilizing the media, right? And I'm talking about books, shows, so different types of media platforms in order to shape the public opinion regarding homosexuality. Now it's considered a norm. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't the norm. You know what I mean? But now they've been, utilizing, again, they changed public policy, and now they've been publishing books and, showing it on television. So now they're ultimately shaping our opinions on this particular lifestyle. So I just use that example just to demonstrate that Baba Amos Wilson is 100% correct. He said which group will get its views and rules, or a significant number of them, to prevail and be accepted as legitimate views and rules adopted by the society as a whole, will depend on the social power and effectiveness of that group compared to other groups. So you had a lot of people in the conscious community would say they're against homosexuality, or people that are, African centered will say, well, I'm not, I'm against it. But the reality is we can be against it all day, but if we don't have the social power or effectiveness, you get what I'm saying, Sister Lima?
It touches back on what Barbara Wilson, what we learned about last chapter about lobbyists and lobbying power, and that's a prime example of when your lobbying power is strong enough that you can influence policy. And that's a good example that Sister Maat gave of exactly what they did. Their lobbying power was strong enough to where they influenced policy for their benefit.
I had a question for the panel here. If we study Greek and Roman history and Europeans as a whole, homosexuality is a part of their culture.
It is.
I mean, if we study it, can we really, extinguish that? Because if by nature and by culture, that's an intimate part of their culture is homosexuality.
Right.
Very true.
Absolutely.
So what was the question, brother?
Can we effectively stop its rise? That's my question. In the African Centered community, I think that we could neutralize it as enforcing our sense of value system. It's not an African principle. Homosexuality. It's not part of our culture. We adopted it through the slave trade, of course, and also through enslavement, and being part of their culture. Homosexuality became a force in our community, I believe. But I don't. Can we? How do we counter this? That's my question.
I think definitely through education, education and teaching an education that is African centered, to where you understand that behavior is not normal and it's not African. But like you said, that would be to the most extent that we could do, because of this particular culture that we live in. They control that particular culture, so we would only be able to control a small part of it. So I agree with you. Yes.
Yes.
All right. We moving on, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm on page 167, and I have the middle of the first paragraph and second paragraph highlighted. It says, for as Betham argues, when power is acquired and exercised according to justifiable rules and with evidence of consent, we call it rightful or legitimate, right? And I'm telling you, Baba set us up, man. I'm thinking back to chapter 2 or 3. I think it was chapter 2, when he talked about how the Europeans came over and set up a government. They established a government to protect them. And then they came up with these different rules, he said, and it's been going on so long that when we subscribe to those rules, right, or we submit to these rules, and we think that it's legitimate, like they have the legitimate, I believe, Sister Alina, was this chapter 1?
I think it was chapter 2, like basis of power.
Yes, and he was talking about legitimate authority and competence or something like that.
Right.
I forgot what section that was. That was in chapter 2 or 3. But it took me back there. So a lot of these different rules, they've been imposed upon us for so long that we think it's legitimate. Like we really think that it's legitimate for a federal judge to sentence someone to jail for a piece of crack about this big. Like, I mean, like we thought it was like, people thought it was legitimate. People going to jail doing 5 years, 10 years because of a piece of crack. I mean, nothing, but we looked at it as legitimate. You know what I mean? Like, this is legitimate. When we go into the courtroom and they impose a sentence on us, we're looking at it as like this judge has, is a legitimate authority, and what they're doing is legit. But anyway, so he's saying when power is acquired and exercised according to justifiable rules and with evidence of consent, we call it rightful or legitimate. Furthermore, as Betham propounds, to be justified power has to be derived from a valid source of authority. So we think in the judge, police officers, teachers, these people are valid sources of authority, right? It says this is particularly true of political power. The rules must provide those who come to hold power to have the qualities appropriate to its exercise and the structure of power must be seen to serve a recognizable general interest rather than simply the interest of the powerful. So you know how, like, sis, they always make it seem like they're doing this for national interest or to protect the people.
Right.
When it's really not about national interest or protecting the people, it's about protecting your power. But I hear what Bob was saying. He says these goals essentially define the outcomes the ruling elite attempts to achieve by means of the policy formation process. The policy formation process is essentially the process of rule creation. As Becker cogently contends, rule creation is an enterprising act. Behind every rule, I want y'all to hear me. I mean, when I had to highlight this.
I got it, yep.
Behind every rule is an entrepreneur or interest group who, for one reason or another, sought to have the rule created and by whose efforts legislation came into being in effort to defend or advance his or its interests. I want to say that one more time. Behind every rule, okay, is an entrepreneur or interest group. And when I'm thinking about interest group, I'm thinking, you see, when people push abortion, we got all these population control people. Yes. Push abortion. They'll promote the homosexuality. They'll promote the contraception. This push for population control. Let me go back. As Beckham cogently contends, the rule creation is an enterprising act. He says behind every rule is an entrepreneur or interest group who, for one reason or another, sought to have the rule created and by whose efforts legislation came into being in an effort to defend or advance his or its interests.
That's right.
Predominant social power can only be acquired and maintained by a particular group to the extent to which other groups can be systematically excluded from gaining equal or greater power by denying them access to sufficient social and material resources by means of which they may acquire and exercise effective power. Both access and denial of access to these means are usually determined by rules, especially the rules of access and the rules of exclusion. It is through their influence on and manipulation of the policy formation process that dominant or advantaged groups establish the rules or policies which provide them with privileged access to property and resources, the possession and use of which permit them to acquire and maintain power over subordinate or advantaged groups. The policy formation process is a reciprocal operation. More specifically, it is a circular process. And that's all I have highlighted. I know that was a lot, but that's what I have highlighted.
That's powerful.
On pages 166 and 167. So when we have these new rules that come out, new rules, we had to understand that there's an entrepreneur behind it or an interest group. So let me just show you something really fast, Sister Alima. We got 8 more pages to cover, but let me show you guys something really fast. So rules. On October the 10th, I put this up, and a lot of people have been talking about this right here. This is the Black Identity Extremist memo that was released by the FBI on the 3rd of August, 2017. Dr. Boyce Watkins, he's spoken about it. Tariq Nasheed has spoken about it. You had like the pills, red pill and blue pill on Sinai's platform. They've been talking about this memo that just dropped. And essentially, they're saying that people who subscribe to like Black nationalism, Pan-Africanism, Washita, Moorish Science Temple, Black Islam, they're saying that we are a threat, okay? That we are a threat to law enforcement. And they're saying that we are a threat to law enforcement, and they've labeled us Black identity extremists, all right? So this is the actual article that came out that was published by the Daily News, and it's on a bunch of other sites. But, you know, they're talking about this Black identity extremists. And so to me, Sister Alima, this was so reminiscent of like COINTELPRO. Remember back in the 1970s, you know, they launched COINTELPRO in order to neutralize the whole Black liberation movement. And I think they're just doing the same thing in 2017. You know, I think that they're coming up with strategies to neutralize the Black liberation movement. Because here we are, 47 years later, You know, you have Black people, you know, right now, you know, pushing for Black liberation, you know, buying Black, banking Black, starting businesses and doing all sorts of things. And I think they're trying to I'm not even gonna say I think, I know they're trying to stagnate the momentum, you know, of this movement. And so now they've come out with this term now called the Black identity extremists. And they're saying that these people, whoever subscribes to these ideologies, they say that we are likely motivated to target law enforcement officers. So here it is, sis. We see how they're manipulating the policy formation process, creating rules to protect their power or their power structure. You know, and I think that this is a great example of that. So check it out, y'all. It's on, you know, NewYorkDailyNews.com, or you can just go to the Google search engine, type in Black identity extremists, and you'll get it. I don't want to take up the book club's time and read the article. The PDF is also available online. Someone put it under my post, had a bunch of comments, and someone posted the actual PDF. Or I can drop this. I can drop this in the, yeah, I'm about to say I can, here it is right here. I can throw it in the group right now so we all have it. So this is the actual memo. It's only 12 pages. I haven't combed through it yet, but I haven't combed through it thoroughly, but I did peruse it. And they're saying that the death of Michael Brown was the catalyst of these BIEs fighting law enforcement. So then they cite, look at this, they cite Michael Johnson. They say he ambushed and shot 11 law enforcement officers. And then you have Zale Thomas. They say he kicked 4 white New York police officers in Queens with a hatchet. So they're naming different incidents. Let me see. Yep, they say this person right here, look at this. I'm reading right here. The subject left a handwritten note at the scene of one of the shootings in which he identified himself as a Moor. All right. So they're going into, look at this right here. They talk about Gavin Long. They say he ambushed and shot 6 law enforcement officers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, before eventually being killed. So they're going through, you know, in this PDF, you know, they're arguing. Oh, it's here it is. They're arguing here that the violence against law enforcement started with the death of Michael Brown. I'm trying to find it so you guys can see it with your own eyes. Here it is. Here it is. The FBI assesses it is likely Black identity extremist perceptions of police brutality. Now listen to how they say this, perceptions of police brutality. So like what we perceive it to be. Perceptions of police brutality against African Americans spurred an increase in premeditated retaliatory lethal violence against law enforcement and will very likely serve as justification for such violence. The FBI assesses it is very likely this increase began following the 9 August 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and the subsequent grand jury November 2015 declination to indict the officers involved. All right, so BIEs, they're saying they mentioned the Moors, they mentioned Black nationalism, they mentioned Ouachita. So I'll put this in the group and I'll let you guys check it out. But to me, I think that this is a prime example of how they manipulate the policy formation process to neutralize all threats, any type of threat to the status quo, threat to white power structure. You know, so I'm told that people who are considered BIEs or BIE groups will be put on a domestic terrorist list. And you know that once you're on this list, then that means that they can tap your phone, you know, without probable cause. They could put surveillance on you. They can basically violate your rights legally, if that makes sense. They can legally violate your rights. And so anyway, I'm not gonna take up any more time. I just wanted to bring this to your attention. And I will put this.
Do you think it's going to intensify Facebook and other social medias to utilize as Black empowerment? You know, meaning that they're going to start, you know, stopping us from like using on a proactive level to begin to get off Facebook or whatever and have our own personal group chat, because I think it's going to filter into them monitoring Facebook and not allow, you know, Black nationalist organizations try to kick them off Facebook.
Well, they already do that.
They already do that.
I'm talking about on another level. You know what I mean? It's going to intensify. It's going to get exacerbated.
Oh yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is, and I think censorship on social media platforms.
Right.
I think they're going to beef up censorship.
Better term. That's what I mean. More censorship.
Absolutely. I think they're going to. Absolutely, I think that they are going to. And I just put both links in the chat. By the way, I put the New York Daily News article and also the PDF or the HTML link to the actual document for folks to take a look at that. But
Peace
yes.
to brothers who just joined us. Peace, Brother Knowledge.
Peace.
Peace, Brother Knowledge.
It's another brother. Peace, brother. It's another brother just joined us as well.
Yeah,
Peace, brother. Oh, we almost had the whole panel filled up. Excellent. Well, thank you, brothers, for joining us. We were just talking about the Black identity extremists memo that was dropped, that was proposed or issued by the FBI. I know that Brother Knowledge Born and Sister Segmet on her weekly, I think they meet every Monday. I think they're on every Monday. Sister Segmet dropped that bombshell last Monday on the Black identity extremists.
Oh, I got to check that out. She was a victim of some of that too, man. She was.
Yes.
Oh yeah, she's on the. Yeah, she's on there. She's on there. But guess what? Dr. Martin Luther King was, Malcolm X was, Marcus Garvey was. So it would be an honor to be on the domestic terrorist list. It would be it's a badge of honor. Of honor.
Do y'all know the guy by the name of, call him Nature Boy? Anybody familiar with him?
No,
I've heard of him.
Yeah, they just got arrested. Him and those young ladies over they over, I think, in South America somewhere. They were beaten by the authorities over there. They got arrested. I think they're still incarcerated.
Oh, wow.
And his name is Nature Boy.
Yeah, Nature Boy. Yeah, he has a little cult that he has get the little young pretty girls over there in South America. And they have a little clique where they live off the land.
I'm hip to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hip to him.
I didn't know he was into that. We're friends on Facebook. I didn't know about that other stuff you just mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
I just want to piggyback off what Brother Travis has said earlier about the homosexual agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our elder has spoke on Urugo before. Urugo, they gonna do what they gonna do.
Yeah.
You know, even with this homosexual agenda, and even how they're starting to target our type of groups. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. It's amazing that we're talking about this. I shouldn't be amazed because the ancestors always tie us in on the same page. But you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. I think we really need to begin to educate, as our sister has said, educate our brothers and sisters the best way we can, you know, with all of our energy and all our passion, like we've been doing. And those who come on board, hey, fine, dandy, and we continue to, you know, drop seed on them. And those who want to argue and still deal with the white man and their insanity, I'm talking about those who got a black face but got their white mind. You know, if they don't want to get with us, we just let them go. But Urugo, they gonna continue to get angry. That's in their nature. They're gonna continue to want a war against us, you know, because we are the universe. We are the essence of everything. You feel what I'm saying? So I think if we just continue to do what we do, we'll be all right. And I'm like you, Dr. Maat. It's an honor if they plug into empowering us, my Afrocentric group, you know, and target us. Hey, that means that means I'm doing something, right? That means I'm being effective.
Exactly.
I'm effective. If I'm on your list, I'm effective.
Right.
I'm doing something right.
Okay.
I'm doing something right.
Well, let's move on, family.
All right, page. I'm at page
168. Okay. I'm right here at the top, family. First paragraph. Well, the second paragraph, rather. While the
168.
federal government, 168, brother.
Mhm.
While the federal government may appear to be independent and autonomous, a government of the people and for the people, it is very heavily influenced, if not dominated, by a white male business elite network to the advantage of its members and class, and to a lesser extent, to the trickle-down benefit of the constituents of the white American nation. In general contrast to the marginalized Black American community, the essence of the essence of class rule involves the ability of a class, in this instance, the white male business elite class, to influence the structure of government, obtain access to decision-making agencies and positions within government, and the ability to help shape the general political, social, economic, and foreign policies of the government.
Yep, and I had that highlighted with that the governmental policy is not made by the president.
That's right.
This point home clear. Governmental policy is not made by the president or the executive branch alone after approval by Congress. It doesn't work like that. But remember now, American, what was the class we all took in high school, Sister Alima?
ELP.
What was that? American?
ELP. It was ELP, I think.
We were taught like that was the way it went, right?
Right, the structure.
But that's not true. And let me make sure I underline.
Well, actually, on the surface, that is true. But as we are learning, as we know, behind closed doors, that's not necessarily. It doesn't work that way on the surface.
Right, but it's like you said, it's a little deeper than that.
That's right.
That's the way they paint it. So
that's why Crane.
Every person feels that they're a part of the process.
That's right.
It's also part
of
having people go on a riot and
part of that social control
process. But in actuality, we aren't.
Exactly.
That's right.
So now he's getting ready to get into it. It says anchor and others, right? That's what that ETAL, anchor and others. It says that every important political policy is the result of careful research.
That's right.
Come on, Sister Alima. I mean, when I was reading, research goes into these rules and these policies. Right. They don't just sit there and just come up with them out of the blue. It says that it's the result of careful research, multiple authorship, collective judgment, and in most cases, a long period of incubation. And usually the policy making process will begin outside of government and groups that are established and financed by major business interests. Such groups, all right, now we're talking about these policy planning groups. Such groups constitute a corporate policy making superstructure, which is based ultimately on the intercorporate and interpersonal links, which have grown and evolved since the founding of the National Civic Federation, okay, i.e. that is the first major corporate policy planning organization at the beginning of this century. All right, so I just want to drive home that careful research, right, goes into creating these rules and these policies, okay? And like he said, it starts outside. He said the process begins outside of the government. So you have a lot of research being conducted, people throwing back and forth, exchanging ideas. You know, you have people publishing papers on some of these ideas and topics, and then it gets to the government, okay?
That's right, that's right.
And it undergoes another process. So I'm on page 169 where it says Domhoff describes the nature and function of the policy planning network, right? So how does it work? And Domhoff says, and again, he quotes a lot. Baba Amos Wilson used a lot. He quotes a lot from Domhoff. He says, it is within the policy process that the various sectors of the business community transcend their interest group consciousness and develop an overall class consciousness.
That's right.
The policy formation process appears as disinterested and fair-minded as the special interest process seems self-seeking and biased. Only the national interest is of concern. nonpartisan, and objective are the passwords. Okay, so they don't make it, they don't want this thing to sound like, look, we're creating this law or these rules to benefit a particular class. They're making it seem as that this is for national interest. Remember, they used to say things like national security. Everything was like, this is a national security, right?
Always.
And it really wasn't. It was just to secure what you guys have going on. It had nothing to do with us, right? But there were like, what did you say, sis?
Coded language.
Yes, coded language, like national interest, nonpartisan, objective, right?
That's what they do, though. They always talk in coded languages because it makes it easier for people not to understand.
Right.
Absolutely. So then he says, and this is the last paragraph I have highlighted, and I'll hand it over. It says the policy formation process begins in the corporate boardrooms and executive suites. It ends in the innermost private offices of the government in Washington. In between the beginning and the end, there are a handful of foundations that provide the experts with money for research, as well as blue ribbon presidential commissions, which legitimate the policies to the general public and present them formally to the president. Research institutes and think tanks also are found in the inner circles of the network, and influential newspapers and magazines are important in bringing the views of the policy groups to the attention of governmental personnel. However, the central units in the policy network are such official sounding organizations as the Council of Foreign Relations, the Committee of Economic Development, the Business Council, and the American Assembly, which are best categorized as the policy planning and consensus seeking organizations of the power elite. They are also the training grounds in which new leaders for government service are informally selected.
Yes. Yeah, that paragraph there, Queen. Yes.
Yeah. Deep. So these different foundations, like remember all the money that the Rockefeller Foundation gave to research? Remember all that, Sister Alima?
We're always donating to every type of research they can. You're going to find that if it's a big type of research organization, their money is behind it.
Oh yeah, the Rockefeller Foundation,
the Heritage Foundation.
Yes. I love how Baba broke down all the foundations. Because we hear about these foundations a lot, but to really know what it is that they do, he really broke it down for us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
One of the brothers want to pick up? Sister Camille?
I'm skipping page 171, if that's okay. That's like the advisory committees.
I agree. Okay, that's fine.
I didn't have that highlighted.
Talk about this chart for a second, Sister Camille, or you don't actually have to talk about it, but let folks know that, let them know about this chart, sis.
Okay.
The policy formation process. It's a list showing the resources, research, decision-making, opinion-making, and law-making. So we have research reports, personnel, government, commissions, councils. Then we have reports, policy recommendations, which would be executive agencies, president, congressional committees, and the courts. And between all that, it's like personal policy, recommendations, and below that is reports, news items, which is public attention to selected policy recommendations. This is how they indoctrinate people in, into their talking points. National news media, which is personal policy, again, recommendations, personal research reports, reports, news items, which go to universities, grants, contracts for selected research areas, also endowments, interlocking directorates, personal wealth, corporations, endowments, interlocking directorates, and foundations. So all of these different think tanks and policymakers and foundations and institutions are the people that are, their money is what's backing and putting these policies and public, what was the word I used before? Talking points that you hear people picking up on all the time, like it's law. just you just been indoctrinated into thinking and talking this way when you can't see through what's actually happening.
That's right.
So he just broke down, you know, how it all works, where the money, who the money is coming from, and who it's going to propagate this information.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got. That's a mouthful.
Keep going, sis.
Okay, they provide a setting where conflicts within the power elite can be discussed and compromised. Number 3, they provide a setting wherein members of the power elite can hear the findings of various academic experts. In some cases, study groups within the policy planning organizations can be characterized on ongoing seminars or briefing sessions for the corporate rich, with experts doing most of the talking. So these are the people that you know, that they hire or out of these think tanks that, you know, put forth, you know, all these the policies that they want to see enacted in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
They provide a framework for commission studies by experts on important issues, thereby assuring leaders within the power elite that they have the latest and best information on the subject at hand. So basically, they do they study if they want to like when they were able to conquer us, they studied us. They study us to this day. They are they educate us, so they are able to control our thinking, control our views, and they basically know exactly what we're going to do.
That's right. Better than we do, Queen.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Number 5, they provide an informal training ground, right, for new leadership within the power elite. Because in these organizations that big business people can determine which of their peers are best suited for service in the government.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that people that are in the government are handpicked, and they're puppets, and they're going to do exactly what they're told, or they've already been indoctrinated to a particular type of thinking.
That's
And
right.
they're going to follow through with a particular set of directives.
Absolutely.
Number 6, they provide an informal recruiting ground for determining which academic experts may be suitable for government services, either as faceless staff aides to the numerous lawyers and business people who take Washington positions, or as executive branch appointees in their own right. In addition to their function within the power elite, the policy planning groups perform at least 2 major functions for the power elite vis-a-vis the rest of society. Number 1, these groups legitimate their members as serious and expert persons capable of government service and selfless pursuit of the national interests. This by virtue of the fact that group members are portrayed as giving of their own time to take part in highly selective organizations which are nonpartisan in nature. Through such avenues as books, journals, policy statements, press releases, and speakers, these groups influence the climate of opinion both in Washington and the country at large.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's just propaganda on fleck there.
Right.
You know, especially when you get to the university and books and journals.
Yes.
And many of these groups put out like 12 to sometimes 15 periodicals a year.
That's right.
Yes, they do.
The advisory committee, we shall specifically and briefly describe the roles of the independent research and policy organizations and think tanks presently. However, we should also note another important means by which the corporate elite seeks to shape and direct governmental policy. And I like to read that again, which the corporate elite seeks to shape and direct governmental policy.
Mm-hmm.
So those folks up there, they're getting their orders from somebody else. They're puppets. You know, they just, they're puppets. The advisory committee, however, the advisory committees, hundreds of committees help to oversee the functions of government agencies. In 1972, as a result of a Senate investigation, it was revealed that there were between 1,000 and 1,500 of these unknowns to the public advisory committees working with and for the federal government during any given year.
Mm-hmm.
Many of these committees may consist of scientists, technicians, and academians, which evaluate government programs and select recipients of research grants and contracts. Or many may consist primarily of people from the industry affected by a particular agency.
Mm-hmm.
I bid. In contrast to and in support of the strategic formulations of the policy planning organizations, the advisory committees, a routine part of the governmental policy formation process, help to refine and implement policies which have been adopted by the government. These committees, like their policy planning counterparts, essentially consist of business representatives, politicians, and experts, with the business segment usually overrepresented. Advisory groups usually take one of the three forms: blue ribbon, formal, and ad hoc. Anchor, Sabo, and Schwartz, 1987. The Blue Ribbon Advisory Committee is designed to assess or evaluate newly introduced proposals. Formal advisory committees oversee operations once policies have been fully formulated. Finally, ad hoc committees are relatively short-term groups which function to advise government on important and critical decisions concerning ongoing programs.
Mm-hmm.
Anchor and her colleagues note that an ad hoc group may engage in meetings that are not reported, nor is its existence mentioned with any regularity by the press. Such a committee can arise, function, and die without any public notice. Advisory committees may heavily influence the character and direction of government policies by shaping the information flow into any number of governmental agencies and of the executive departments, and by helping to instigate and ensure a smooth and highly remunerative flow of funds from government to the coffers of business and industry interests of their members. The operation of certain advisory committees and their significant impact on policy change and implementation sometimes may exclude the input of relevant public bureaucracies, the cabinet, and elected representatives, thereby leaving it up to the well-represented corporate elite to elaborate and determine official governmental policy.
So basically, we're seeing that these advisory committees, they check over the policy before it even gets disseminated. So if they don't like it, then it's not even going to trickle down any further. So it's the advisory committees first before it even goes down to even be implemented as policy.
Yeah, they're like editors.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what they are.
Absolutely.
Woo.
Dr. Maat?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you. That's exactly what happens. I was getting ready to say that you guys want to move on to the role and function of selected influential.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes.
The brother's so quiet. Ain't no brothers not gonna read tonight, fellas. Do the knowledge. Brother Impu.
We like to hear from our queens. Go ahead, y'all nurture.
That's great. Y'all knocking it out tonight. Yeah. Y'all on point. Absolutely, they're on point.
That's right.
On point. So he mentions another group, and the Council of Foreign Relations.
Yes.
Sister Lee, go ahead and summarize it, because I go through and read the whole page. But we gotta
just try to hit the high points. Okay, so the Council on Foreign Relations, founded in 1920 to 1921, it was founded by lawyers and bankers and academicians. They said this organization comprised primarily of financial executive lawyers, secondarily journalists, blah, blah, blah. U.S. policies and recruiting elites for leadership posts during both Democratic and Republican administrations. Members, this and other similar upper-class organizations go on to serve in the highest offices. So they say that people here, of course, they get directed to go on to be presidents and Secretary of State and those type of positions like that. Let's see, the Council on Foreign Relations was very influential in the creation of the International Monetary Fund. I know we've heard of the IMF and the World Bank. It publishes the influential periodical Foreign Affairs. It says the council is preeminent in helping to shape U.S. foreign policy. Its New York clubhouse hosts governmental officials and national leaders from all over the globe of the highest rank and influence as luncheon and dinner speakers as well as auditors. The council's discussion groups and policy groups, generally consisting of about 25 business executives, government officials, scholars, and military officers, engage in detailed discussions of various topics and issues having to do with foreign affairs. According to Domhoff, 1979, study groups revolve around the work of a council research fellow financed by Ford, Rockefeller, and Carnegie foundations, or a staff member. So we see that even all of the studies, all the information that they're studying are funded by these major corporations. And we'll see, of course, that Ford, Rockefeller, and Carnegie, they fund almost everything. I swear, almost everything.
Yes, they do.
Could you imagine
Ford,
their
like
net
you said,
worth, Queen?
Rockefeller,
Like
right.
family, could you imagine their net worth and what it is and how much money they really have to be able to back all of these major organizations? Like, how much money do you people have, really, though?
Right.
A lot.
They got all of it.
Right, sis, all of it.
Absolutely. And it's just, I'm looking and I'm like, wow, you know, all of this stuff, you know, as Baba Amos Wilson so eloquently states, you know, the policies and things that we have, you know, set in place, it starts in someone's clubhouse.
That's right.
Someone's executive suite, just, you know, some ideas being bounced around.
Right.
And then you have money that's poured into researching these ideas. Okay, well, let's see if it works or if this idea would be effective or not be effective. So then they dump a bunch of money into the research. Yeah, they form these different study groups and then they publish their findings.
Right.
And they keep going back and forth until they come up with something solid. And then they take that to the government and say, well, look, you know, I think you guys should implement this sort of policy. Mm-hmm. And then they're prepared to argue why. What are the pros and the cons of this policy? But now we're seeing the sequence of things, how it all begins, and understanding the full process. So, Sister Alima, could you go ahead and summarize the Committee for Economic Development? That's the next one.
Okay, the Committee for Economic Development was founded in the early 1940s. It was created by its founders to help plan the post-World War II, particularly to help avoid a possible World War II depression. They say it was designed to present economic plans for the war. Let's see here. CED consists of 200 corporate leaders, later including a small number of university presidents. Its policy statements on a broad range of domestic and international issues are developed by study groups aided by academic specialists. Working through subcommittees, CED's 200 trustees meet to discuss policy problems with experts and after lengthy deliberations, publish their policy recommendations. In 1988, about 1,300 companies contributed $3.3 million to CED. Private foundations contributed $370,000. These contributions and others like them support CED's annual revenues and expenses of about $4 million. Like the Council on Foreign Relations, many of the members of CED come to serve in government posts in both Republican and Democratic administrations.
Hold up, I'm up here highlighting this while you were talking.
Okay, Queen.
Yes. So again, and then you see how it's like a handful of people. Like I'm looking at
that's right.
Yeah, the Council of Foreign Relations. I think the number was 25 business executives, government officials. For this one, for CED, it says the staff is relatively small, consisting of about 24 persons and a highly competent. Okay, so there's 24 people and a highly competent research advisory board. Okay. So it's not like a lot of people, you know, that's running the show. It's really a handful.
That's right.
Of folks who are, you know, conducting the research and publishing the papers. All right. So now we have the Business Council. The Business Council. Can one of the brothers take it from here?
Come on, brothers. Come on, do the knowledge.
Come on.
Unmute that mic.
Come on, do the knowledge. Where are you, King?
Okay, come on, Brother Travis, somebody.
Okay. The Business Council was founded in 1933 as an official advisory agency to the Department of Commerce. Since the end of World War II, the group no longer functions as the official advisory body of the development of commerce, Department of Commerce, but it continues to meet as a policy planning forum for inner circle business leaders. Its 154 members listed in Who's Who in America, in combination held 730 directorships in 435 banks and corporations, 49 foundations, trusteeships, and 125 trusteeships with 84 universities. Parenti. This organization, whose members are drawn from the ranks of the nation's top financiers, bankers, and industrialists. Example: Chase Manhattan, Bank, Morgan Gartley, GEGM, meets about 6 times a year with high government officials. During these usually 3-day strictly confidential meetings held at luxury hotels paid for by private contributions, the council conducts panels, hold informal talks, and presents its views on a broad range of public issues. That ties right back into what your sister was talking about, is that they come together and they just lay out blueprints. They they design, they get into their concepts. They might have concepts that they might be working on early on, and they collectively put an agenda together. A laid back think tank. Putting things together.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. And you see how it happens?
Yes.
It says luxury hotels. And the paragraph at the top of page 177, look at this. It says the alternation of discussion sessions with banquet-style dinners, golf tournaments, tennis matches, other social events serve to create and maintain feelings of camaraderie, class identity, and consciousness between corporate elite and government officials. So this is what these people, like you said, they come together, they brainstorm an agenda, and then they say, look, this is the agenda, this is what we think, but let's put some money behind it and form, get some research going to see if this is a good or bad idea.
Right.
This is how it all begins. So moving into think tanks, page 175.
Yeah.
At the beginning, they give us a definition of what a think tank is. It says it's a coterie of specialized research information and expert advisory groups and institutes, right? So indeed, it is within these think tanks, he says, supported by university-based research, that the deepest and most critical thinking takes place within the policy planning network. The most important institutes and research centers connected with universities, receive much of their funding from foundations. A number of the larger and less specialized independent think tanks often undertake contract research for businesses or government agencies. And I can say that I've seen this firsthand.
Exactly.
With the NSF, the National Science Foundation. They used to come to Morgan School of Engineering, and they would throw money at us for solving certain problems. The universities really are like think tanks.
That's right.
Different. And again, I'm referencing, if you guys Google it, whoever's watching, just Google NSF, National Science Foundation. You're going to say, damn, Dr. Maat was just talking about this. They will come to Morgan and say, look, I got a $2 million grant for you guys because we're trying to solve this particular problem. And or they may have a list of problems that they're trying to solve, and then you would have to write a proposal on how you can solve it. And based on your proposal, they may issue you the funds. I just give you guys that example, just presented that example, just to show you or demonstrate that that they utilize universities as the think tanks, as the conductors of the research, as the problem solvers. So it's funny, sis, how a lot of us stay away from the university, right? Oh, that's the white man's degree. That's the white man, this, what? But this is where it's all happening.
Yes.
Right here, right at the university level, right? But we stay away from that. Right. But this is where all this stuff is happening. These think tanks, right at the university level. Okay.
Yes.
I'm trying to think where I stopped. The most important, blah, blah, blah. A number of the larger and less specialized independent think tanks often undertake contract research, for business and government agencies. I just said that, NSF. You guys can look it up. NSF. Okay, so it says via think tanks, foundations, university centers, the corporate elite finances a counter-revolution of ideas that would overwhelm the voices of vigilant citizens. They also countered the reign of true democracy in America and the ideas and policies which can make it a reality. Since the 1970s and 80s, a period of increasingly conservative ideas and presidential administrations, think tanks such as the American Enterprise Institute and the Hoover, I said, oh my gosh, when I saw the name Hoover, the Hoover Institute moved from intellectual marginality to become primary sources of Washington and national opinion. The intellectual output of these similar centers are utilized to inform and shape the thoughts and behavior of the media and politicians.
Mute your mics, family. Mute your mics, family.
Okay, so it's going into the AEI, and it says they are located in Washington, D.C. The AEI produces policy prescriptions and intellectual parameters for important political debates and issues. All right, so I'm on page 176. Could someone take it from here?
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, Queen.
It says the Hoover Institution at Stanford University is another well-funded, over $8 million in addition to regular corporate sponsors, including right-wing millionaires like Joseph Coors, the beer magnate, think tank which concerns, including right-wing millionaires like Joseph Coors, the beer magnate, think tank which concerns itself with a range of public policy issues. The Heritage Foundation aggressively intellectualizes the class objectives of its generally right-wing corporate investors. It is the source of many ultra-conservative legislative ideas and critiques of social programs. This think tank has also received funding from Coors, $100,000 to aid its conduct of research and educational activities on major public policy issues. So yeah, I mean, this Joseph Coors, he's...
It's just funny to me because it's like he sells beer. So it's like, why do you care about educational activity? You know what I mean? It's like you would think that the two and two wouldn't go hand in hand, but it's just interesting.
He just made his money off of that. He's actually, you know, he wants to be in control. So that's
Really, right? Exactly.
He has to make a whole bunch of money. So he takes that money and he controls the policies.
That's right.
So if we go down to actually the second paragraph, it says the Center for the Study of American Business were among a number of centers designed to promote free enterprise, Schwartz, 1987. The latter organization, founded by conservative economist Murray Weidenbaum, who later became chairman of Reagan's Council of Economic Advisors, engaged in strong intellectual attacks against governmental regulation. They did much to promote deregulation. So for me, deregulation is why everything, corporations are able to charge whatever they want. Before there used to be a cap on things. Right. Now they just charge whatever they want and say that's, it's just doing business.
That's right.
Now it's unabounded. They can do whatever they want price wise and gouge the hell out of the people.
That's right.
I also have on page 177.
Hold up. I just want to hold up, sis. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but I just want to keep it. I just want the people who are listening to understand that the organizations the think tanks that we just named, the American Enterprise Institute and the Hoover Institute, those are considered conservative think tanks. And Baba Wilson, at the end of page 176, he tells us that we must keep in mind that these conservative think tanks have their moderate and liberal rivals. So he names some rivals to the AIE and the Hoover and the Heritage. He says that they may be opposed by the Brookings Institute, the Committee for Economic Development, and the Council of Foreign Relations. So you have these conservative and then moderate and liberal think tanks. And then he goes on to talk about a particular think tank, I believe that's Cato Institute. He said he would be remiss if he wouldn't mention Cato, right, in the discussion. So go ahead, sis, lead us into Cato.
Okay, this organization, founded in 1977 as the research and policy think tank of California's Libertarian Party, is one of the most influential corporate bodies in Republican politics and in Washington today. Founded in San Francisco, it moved to Washington in 1981. Neither wholly traditionalist, neoconservative, or liberal, Cato has advocated replacing Social Security with a system of individual retirement accounts, the privatization of the federal deposit and the savings and loan insurance programs, a phased withdrawal of the U.S. from NATO, and the decriminalization of drug use. Cato, though no longer in an exclusive libertarian think tank, shares with other libertarian research operations the belief that governmental functions, federal, state, and local, should return back to the private sector. So that means he feels that corporations and business should be in control of federal and state law instead of the people.
You know what I thought of when, on that issue was Enron. Remember how they deregulated energy in like California, and they had those high utility bills, and people were getting their utilities turned off. Businesses couldn't afford the utilities because of all of that deregulation. The Bushes and Enron was working together to deregulate the energy out there in California. It was a good example.
Right. Once considered fringe thinkers, Cato's intellectuals exert tremendous influence throughout the Capitol. For 15 years, a foundation of ideas, books, policy statements, op-ed pieces, and media broadcasts. Cato is now perceived as having significantly influenced the retrogressive politics which characterized the new Republican Congress of 1994. It is currently engaged in developing a handbook which seeks to show Congress what the future government should be like. It is also in the process of advocating the abolishment of the federal domestic departments and giving their powers back to the states. So that's like when they were talking about states' rights.
Exactly.
Anybody else, or should I finish? Should I continue?
No, I'm going to go to page 178 because that was a great summary.
Yes.
Right.
For Cato, and I actually stopped right here at what you read, the private, where he talks about the private sector. So I stopped at the top of page 177 as well. I don't have anything else highlighted about that. I'm on page 178 right now, in the middle of page 178, where it says the most important thing to note here is the fact that regardless of the scope or political leanings of any of the influential think tanks, they tend to be supported by the same corporations and all represent efforts by the ruling elite to shape governmental and public opinion across broad areas, including foreign policy, economics, social values, and cultural orientations. The corporate spends millions of dollars in financing the organizations which further its interests by providing legal help, free advertising space in newspapers and magazines, and a variety of free services for organizations in the policy planning network, and by serving as the directors and trustees of these organizations. By these means, the corporate elite seeks to determine the general direction of such organizations, as well as to select the personnel who will manage their operations. I thought that was very, very powerful.
So they just harvesting minds. I mean, even before you even get out of school, it seems like these businesses have so much money that your mind is harvested to function in their interests, even when you even before you get the job.
Exactly.
Wow.
They're trained to
Absolutely.
the system and make money for them.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
One thing
Wow.
is so important. Hey, sister, how you doing?
Go ahead, bro.
One
I'm
thing,
fine, brother. How you doing?
we're pretty good. The one thing I see that on page like 177, I know we jumped to 178, is the close relationship that Cato had with Newt Gingrich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as we see on the regular pages, how he used the think tanks and also the businesses to form his new government for him to get into the House. He changed the game on how politicians and also how the House is going to take over, because Democrats ruled for 40 years prior to him becoming Speaker of the House. So he did a change game by using the think tanks and also the lobbyists and changing how society looked at the voter.
That's very true. My brother jumped ahead a little bit because we are going to get into, Baba did get heavy into Newt Gingrich, and he talked about him thoroughly. So that's why I didn't touch on it, because we're definitely going to get into that. But he's very correct in that that's the way that Newt Gingrich utilized the policy process in that way, and it helped him to change the government, so to speak, that hadn't been changed in 40 years. So that is very true.
So when we get into that, when is that after page 86 or 85?
Yeah,
because I don't.
Yeah, it's a little bit after that.
I didn't read on page 185. Okay, so
it's after that.
Okay, because bro put up something on Facebook. I think he was already, Brother T, you were on page, was that from page 201 or 202?
Yeah, I was, but I based it off. I knew I jumped ahead. I read up to 203. It was on 199 talking about the FBI's. So I mean, just I just jumped ahead. My apologies.
Oh no, you good. You good, Ken.
Yeah, it started talking about Black Power then and how it was defined in the eyes of the government, and that was
right.
Yeah, and he put on Facebook, Brother T tagged me in it on Facebook. He was saying that, that passage that Baba put on, I think it was page 199 or page 200. He was saying that's reminiscent of this whole Black identity extremist. So I guess Brother T will get into that next week, because we plan to stop on page 185 tonight.
Okay.
But I was telling him on Facebook, I was like, man, you need to bring this up, because it's just like, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed.
Right.
Nothing's changed.
And they still using these think tanks.
Absolutely.
It works. Why not?
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely. So on page 186, he concludes this section with speaking about the Joint Council on Economic Education.
You where? You on 186? I thought we was on 178.
I'm on 178. I said 186.
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Way ahead of us.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm on page. I'm at the bottom of 178, and I was saying that he concludes this section with speaking on the Joint Council of Economic Education, and he's saying that their objective is to influence the nature of economic education in America. All right. But I want to skip along, and you got, people can go back and read this if they haven't already read it. I want to read this paragraph on page 179, where it says the program of the Joint Council then begins in corporate boardrooms and foundation offices. He says flows through affiliated councils and university centers and ends up in teacher training programs and public school curricula. In that regard, it is an ideal example of the several steps in organizations that are usually involved in attempts to shape public opinion on any domestic issue. So, as the panel was stating before, the curriculums that our children are being taught in the public school system are shaping their opinions on different topics and different ideas.
That's right.
And so, I mean, we got to be mindful of who is educating our babies. We have to be mindful of that. And we have to understand that when they go to school, we always say, oh, we want our kid to go to school and get, knowledge and skills to get a good job. But we have to understand that education is much deeper than that, Sister Alima. It goes much deeper than that. They're actually shaping the consciousness of your child.
Yes, they are.
Major.
When you
we're literally handing over
you're gonna see that.
Absolutely. We're literally handing our babies over to them to shape their consciousness. I went to a school. I was at Randallstown a while ago, and I was speaking with a student up there, and he was like, I don't, a lot of them were like, I don't see anything wrong with guys wearing girl clothes. I mean, and I had this on video, by the way.
Wow.
You know, and I put it up, you know, I put it up on my old Facebook page. I mean, Facebook, you know, snatched that page down since. But, you know, it just goes to show you how their idea, like how their minds are being molded, you know, what to think. They're not taught how to think. Our babies are being taught what to think, you know, and that's not true education. But anyway, I wanted to read that paragraph. The next subsection talks about the leading think tank.
Yes.
I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just going to go through and list them. Baba Amos Wilson says that there are over 1,000 think tanks in the United States. Some fade in and out of favor depending on the political and social circumstance. Some endure and increase in influence across the years, having somehow mastered an adaptational fluidity, which allows them to respond positively to political and social change, okay? So he said these are the more prominent and influential think tanks in the last 15 years. So you have the American Enterprise Institute for Public Policy Research. You have the Brookings Institution, Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Cato Institute, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the Economic Policy Institute, Heritage Foundation, Hoover Institution on War, Revolution, and Peace, Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, and the Manhattan Institute of Policy Research. So these are the leading think tanks, Dr. Amos Wilson said. He said this is in the last 15 years. This book was published in 1998, almost 20 years ago. So there may be other leading think tanks or new think tanks that we just aren't aware of as of yet. All right, so moving into foundations.
Hold on, sis, real quick. I just wanted to bring to the attention that the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies and the Manhattan Institute of Policy Research are Black institutions.
Yes,
So,
they are.
Yeah, I wanted to look more into those. I wasn't sure if the family was familiar with them because I really wasn't. So I wanted to look more into them and see if actually they're still around because I don't know.
Yeah, focus is still.
They are?
Focus, but it's not really much from that. That's what I'm kind of worried about. When I looked at, I seen something in 2007, and that was the biggest one. They have a magazine, a publication called Focus.
Okay.
And I was looking at it right now, and I haven't seen anything from 2007 since. So
okay, I guess I'll look at the old stuff. All right. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, they are Black institutions. What were the objective? I did read that they were Black institutions.
I know the Manhattan one. I feel like their objective was about education. They supported, along with the provocative program of lectures and conferences, controversial authors.
Yeah, they were basically attacking anything pro-Black.
Yeah, that's what it seems. Yeah.
The Manhattan one, or the Joint Center for Political.
Manhattan one said they sponsored another center in Washington, enrolled and utilized highly conservative Blacks. So they were conservative Blacks. The man.
Okay, I see the other one. The other, the Joint Center for Political Economic Studies. They say that this was Howard University Metro. It says directed by Kenneth Clark.
It's for research,
kind of
publication,
Yeah.
education. Yeah.
Social economic status of Black Americans to increase their influence in the political and public arenas and to facilitate the building of coalitions across racial lines.
Yes.
Okay, but you said Manhattan. You said this one was conservative.
Yeah, they were conservatives.
Okay. Yeah, politically conservative institution. Provocative program of lectures and conference. Okay.
So they attacked the liberals and the pro-Blacks and the pro-minority governmental policies.
Wow.
It was an Afrocentric movement.
It said Walter Williams was a part of this. I wonder if it's the same Walter Williams. You know, when I think of Walter Williams.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, when I think of Walter Williams, I'm thinking about the origins of Christianity, the origins.
Yeah, yeah, it's him.
Yeah. The meta-ness
has
been translated.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
Wow. So it says it right here. Yep. It also sponsors another center in Washington, which enrolls, and vigorously attacks what it perceives as liberal, pro-Black. Wow. Let me highlight this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like a mug in my page.
Wow. So Walter Williams isn't a pro-Black, huh?
I never thought he was.
And he seems to come at most people who has a pro-black agenda.
Right. That's who he attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into the foundations, Queen.
All right, let's roll.
All right. So foundations, as observed by Horowitz and Kolodny in The Poverty Establishment, the foundations sustain the complex nerve centers and guidance mechanisms for a whole system of institutional power. They go on to point out the central purpose for their existence. They say nominally, philanthropic institutions like Rockefeller and Ford fail to coincide with the popular conception of charitable institutions or an altruistic mission to uplift the poor. They were, after all, designed for the purpose of preserving their own wealth, as we all know. They say on the top of page 183, the problem of our age, Andrew Carnegie says in The Gospel of Wealth, is not the redistribution, but the proper administration of wealth, that the ties of brotherhood may still bind together the rich and poor in harmonious relationship. For the foundations, this effort takes many forms, from charting national policies designed to make the world safe for Standard Oil to engineering a proper course of moderation for America's Black minority. So as you can see, our Andrew Carnegie, who often like to speak for the minorities of Blacks, but he says that we can live in harmoniously, the rich and the poor, if you say so.
Just not getting their money, but we will.
Right, as long as you don't get any of our money, we can live harmoniously. That's right. Just stay poor.
Socialize with you.
Yes, just stay poor and we're all good, okay? Let's go on. As Horowitz and Kolodny aptly note, they are private and non-governmental. They could leave the task of repression to their friends and other agencies while they pursued a benevolent, enlightened course without apparent hypocrisy. The foundations, while presenting a benign humanitarian facade, function to preserve a total social, political, economic system rife with inequities and injustices, national and international.
I just gotta bring this up. When as you were reading this, I thought about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
am I the only person that thought about that?
That's what I thought about.
While you were reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is describing Black Lives Matter. You know, so like you said, it says while presenting a benign, a humanitarian facade, function to preserve. You read it says function to preserve a total social, political, economic system rife with inequalities. Keep on going, sis.
And injustices, national and international in scope, to resist and repress the massive redistribution of income and power by rationalizing and helping through an array of non-belligerent, non-military, and apparently non-repressive means to maintain the wealth, power, and prestige which define their way of life. Again, to cite Horowitz and Kolodny, it says this network, the ganglia of foundation intelligence, is composed of a panoply of independent research and policy organizations, jointly financed and staffed by the foundations and the corporate community, which as a group set the terms and define the horizon of choice for the long-range policies of the U.S. government. It goes on to say in 1974, they reported that the income of the 596 largest tax-exempt foundations is more than twice the net earnings of the nation's 50 largest commercial banks. The wealthiest and most influential of the foundations form a network of interlocking directorates among themselves, as well as between themselves and the policy planning organizations and think tanks whose work they finance.
It just made me question so many, like reading this made me question so many different foundations.
Exactly.
You know, like I was all for Black Lives Matter until I went to the website. I remember Dr. Amos, Dr. Boyce Watkins. He said, you guys need to go to the website and check out their mission statement. You know, saying
not included.
Exactly.
What did you say, bro?
I said you don't see nothing about the father. Nowhere.
Nothing.
No. You don't see anything about, you know, preserving the Black family. Nothing about the father. It was about transgender, homosexuality, women's rights, and a whole bunch of other stuff. You know. And so then I found out who was the financer of Black Lives Matter, and I believe it was, what was it? Does anyone know his name?
Soros.
Soros.
A small hat.
Wow.
Small hat. Exactly.
George Soros.
Yeah, behind Black Lives Matter, and we getting all riled up and everything, and oh, Black Lives Matter, and whole time you got this Jewish guy in the background financing this stuff, you know, financing this organization.
That's why I said,
you know,
there's nothing happening.
Absolutely. And you know, he's in the back.
And fam, I did find that, went to the Manhattan Institute of Policy Research and looked up that Walter Williams. It's a different Walter Williams. It's not our Walter Williams.
Okay.
I got his picture up here. It's a different Negro. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. I was like, wait a minute, not, you know, Walter Williams, not the origins of Christianity guy, the origins of Islam guy, not that guy, right? All right, where are we? Okay, so it says Domhoff notes. I'm at the top of page 184, and so we're almost done. We probably got like a couple of more minutes, and then we can close out. Domhoff notes the types of foundations which seek to significantly influence and shape public opinion and policy. Thusly, so it says there are 3 basic types of foundations. It says there are 26 general purpose foundations, there are corporate foundations, and there are community foundations. All right, at the page of this is on page 184. Describes 3 types. It says the foundations are unequivocally extensions of the corporate community and are instrumental to the achievement of corporate and white male elite class intentions and goals. All right. So it goes on to talk about how they spend a lot of money on study groups and different programs, and how they publish books and newspapers and articles and TV ads and all sorts of stuff to shape the public, to influence and also shape the public opinion and also policy. So does anyone want to add anything? I see we have people falling off, coming in and going out. Coming in and going out. See, this book club is serious. This book club is serious. We're here to study, you know.
Did anyone do any research on any present day Black think tanks that are connected to our schools, our institutions?
Has
anyone looked at any African American think tanks that work without HBCUs?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I have.
When I read that think tank, when time period that it was done, I wanted to look into that as well.
That's
Because it seems to me that dictates our politics. It dictates what our schools, how do they flourish. And it seems to me that they're the schools that get the biggest endowments.
Yes, they do.
Yes,
they do.
You know, if I can just add, it's funny you brought that up, brother, because a couple paragraphs ago, I was thinking about Dr. King and how the small hats attached themselves to him early.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because a lot of our African-American universities, you know, were given a lot of money. And it's almost like they target those who exceed in those schools, so to wrap around them and begin to project in their minds what they want them to be. You know, it's something we really need to look into that. I'm leery even in our local NAACPs and other Black groups that have all these white folks involved. You know, it looks cute on the outside, but come on, man, you know, behind closed doors, what are y'all really talking about? Who's really governing the meeting? Because these white folks, when they come in these meetings, and y'all know, if y'all ever had any dealings with them, you know, it's all cute on the outside, but they like to take over the agenda and whatnot. That's why when I get involved with stuff, I'm like, look, call me a segregationist if you want to, but I don't want to deal with them because I know that Urugo spirit gonna jump off, and we're gonna end up having attention, having conflict somewhere.
Well, they're not gonna fund anything that they're not controlling. You know, they're gonna try to control the narrative. They're gonna
Exactly.
control the
That's
way,
right, sister.
you know, how you go about getting your liberation and trying to achieve for your people. They try to inject things into the conversations such as all people and blah, blah, blah. They inject all this rigmarole and confusion into our people, but they practice a completely different thing.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
But strategically, this is heavy. And Baba Wilson, that's why I love this brother. He was letting us know that strategically they plan from day one, even in the education system, you know, probably around, I say 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they start to pick and choose, you know, who to tag, who to follow throughout, you know, their education. So to get into the mind of that individual, and to strategically place him or her in different schools and whatnot. It's some deep stuff. We need to look at that.
And also, once they finish school, they place them in jobs.
Yes.
But as you see in the later pages, is that they say, okay, we're gonna put you in this think tank, you'll be part of this research, and then you'll be a university professor, and you'll go to these schools that we targeted. It's almost imperative for them to keep white supremacy going on with these funded think tanks and programs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Alima.
Yes.
Sister Alima.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you bring up your website? I know that T missed it, and I know that some folks are falling off now. We're going to close out at 9 o'clock. So for the folks that are still hanging tight with us, we got 10 more minutes. Hang tight. I want to show you something, Sister Alima. Can you bring up your website to show them the study guide that you have?
I'm updated right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So for those who are watching and say, hey, I haven't gotten my book yet, I want to participate, but I don't know what's going on. I'm going to say Dr. Alima. That's what I was getting ready to call you. Okay, Dr. Alima.
Yes, she is.
Yes, Sister Alima has a lovely website.
Oh, Lord.
LilyLaPoeteSpeaks.com.
It's Lily.
I'm sorry, Lily. Lily La Poete. Lily La Poete Speaks.com. Please go here. All you have to do is click on the RAM Book Club. She's taking you, she's walking you through it. You click on the RAM Book Club. From here on out, the links will be on this page. All right, the links will be on this page. So I'll send you a link. Basically on Sundays, you'll get one link. Click on the link, and it's going to bring you to this website. And from this website, you'll be able to, click on the Google Hangout link or the YouTube link. But check this out. So this is for those of you who missed, the first, 8 chapter discussions. We had eight chapter discussions thus far. So for those of you who missed it, there's a study guide on her website. Study guide right on her website. So essentially, like I was saying before the broadcast, she provides you with cliff notes. You can go here, you can check it out, get caught up, and join the next discussion. All right. Awesome. Beautiful, beautiful website. Okay. Beautiful website. What is power? I love it. I love it. Chapter 1. Look at this. Look at this, sis. Beautiful. Chapter 2, Basis of Power. Then she provides us with an active discussion link. So you can post your ideas and people can respond to them, like them and comment on them. So guys, let's utilize the platforms that we're building. I know it's easy to go on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter because, all of our friends and family, are utilizing these different platforms. But these platforms are censoring us. You can't post but so much on YouTube, or they lock you out of your account, or they'll shut your page down. Let's try to wean ourselves off of these social media platforms and get on to some of these websites that are operated and controlled by us. Okay. So Sister Alima, thank you so much for building that website. And, we got to start making use of it. We have to start making use of it.
Indeed.
So before we close out, we got 7 minutes. Do you want to go down the panel?
Sister,
last words.
Quick question. You said that
yes,
the website had a study guide or an outline.
Well, yeah, like an outline. It's more of an outline.
Okay.
It's more of an outline.
Awesome.
And it's not going to be as in depth, so don't rely on that. I'm trying to tell you, because these chapters there's so much information. There's just no way. You know what I mean? It'll be very brief, but it will give you a general idea of what each chapter is about.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I thank you.
No problem.
And I thank you also, Sister Lena. It's beautiful. You have to get a flyer done, though, Queen. We got to get a flyer done.
Yeah, I need to. I'm trying to get my things together before I get back on social media so I can promote it and everything.
Cool. Got to get a little flyer together.
Sister Lena, if you send me that info, I'll get the flyer done.
Okay, brother. Nice.
Appreciate that, Brother Knowledge Born.
Yes, no dupe way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Any last words? We can go down the line. Sister Camille, we can start with you.
You can find me at my website, www.camillegainardjones.com. Of course, I'm on all the other platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have an instructional drum DVD that can be purchased, and I have a CD entitled Girl from Queens. The DVD is entitled The Adventures of Dr.maat. And like I stated earlier, I'm working on 2 books. I'm a drummer, I'm a producer. So anybody want to get some positive tracks done, with some positive Black empowerment lyrics going on, you can hit me up. I can tighten you right up. Yeah, that's me, Camille Gaynor Jones.
Excellent, sis. Excellent. Who's next, Sister Elena? We got Brother Knowledge Born.
Black Power. Okay.
Black Power.
Definitely honored to be a part of this resurgence of the African Mind Book Club. I'm excited. You understand? Forgive me for my tardiness. This is show number 3 for me today. And, it don't stop. So y'all can check me out. Do Knowledge Radio. We on 7 days a week. We start with Africa, end with Africa, and everything in between is African, if y'all understand what I'm saying. Y'all can go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Do Knowledge Radio. That's DOTHAKNOWLEDGERADIO. Also check us out at DoTheKnowledgeUniversity.com, our hub site, our e-commerce site.
And bro, and Brother Knowledge Born, I gotta go into your archives or send me the link from today's show. I know you had Sister Akua Agassi on there.
Yeah, she gave you a beautiful shout out. Gave you a beautiful shout out, and Productions shout out. Said Mel Trek was beautiful. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh man, I gotta inbox the Queen and tell her thank you. I have all of her. My son Jalen has all of her books. We have the Marcus Garvey book. We have the Madam C.J. Walker book, and the Imhotep Lessons book. So we have like all of her current books. I support that author, and I believe that we sit here and we claim to be conscious, but then we send our children off to school and we know what they're doing. I mean, we just had a whole discussion about it, in Blueprint for Black Power. And then, we say that we're conscious, but we don't do anything in our homes to combat the miseducation of our babies. Mm-hmm. And I applaud that sister. She's written beautiful books. I know that some of her books are being utilized by the Boston public school system. I have her books. And so we got to support people like that. I'm telling you,
publishing company, all of that. Like that. Yes, that sister is brilliant. Yes. We got some brilliant African women out here. Okay, so I agree with the brother say when we want to get fed, we don't want to interject in. Y'all got stuff going on. Okay, the African women got some magic and some synergy and some greatness going on.
Yes,
we there as Vanguard. We good for security. Let somebody start some ruckus up in the joint. You understand? Real black men know how to hold posts. Okay, real black men know how to hold posts.
Come here, honey bunch. Don't come on camera. Bring me your Marcus Garvey book, your Marcus Garvey, your Madam C.J. Walker, and your Imhotep book. Okay. All right. I just want to shout my sister out and show that. While he's finding that, please, brother Mpu, Impu, brother.
You know, I'm always excited to be with my sisters and brothers. Let me say this, Sister Lily, I took Dr. Maat's advice last week. I've been weaning myself off of Facebook, FBI book. Let me just say that. But and I've checked out your blogs, wonderful. Keep doing what you're doing, sis. And Meltrek, me and my queen, we're looking into purchasing that soon. Dr. Maat, we're gonna introduce it to our family, and we're gonna make it happen. I do want to say, Afrocentric Study Group every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Please chime in, get in on the conference call. We're studying the destruction of Black civilization. It's still relevant today, even though it was written, years ago. So please chime in. I think I gave the number. I don't know if you all put it up there or not. I can give it again if we have time.
Yes, give it out, brother. Give it out for the people.
Okay, 515-604-46. 515-604-96. And it's going to prompt you to put the access code in, of course. And it's 62679. Access code 692679. Peace and Black Power. Brother Travis, please, let's talk. And
yes, brother.
I need to hit you up, man.
Yes, indeed.
Are we friends? Are we friends on the book?
Well, we can be friends now. My website is Shemsu Netcher. SHEMSU.
Hold on, man. Hold on. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but hold on one second. Go ahead.
SHEMSU. Last name Netcher. NETCHER.
Wonderful. Got it.
Yes, indeed, brother. We need to chop it up because I'm gonna definitely start coming in on that Wednesday night. Yes, indeed.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Peace and Black Power.
Peace and Black Power, brother.
And I'm gonna tune in myself. I'm gonna tune in also, brother. Just like, even if I'm not reading the book with you all, because I got a lot on my plate between this and then, with lecturing, but I gotta tune in. So I'm gonna tune in. What time on Wednesday? 6 or 6:30?
6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
And you guys meet is it from like 6 to 8, 6 to 7? 6 to 8. Okay. So I got to make sure that I tune in. I know in Baltimore we're starting this women's empowerment group in Baltimore City, and we meet. We were saying we wanted to meet every Wednesday at 6, but regardless, I'm going to make sure that I tune in tune in and listen in and to support you, brother.
I appreciate you, sister.
No problem, brother T.
Oh, peace, family. Brother Travis out of Detroit. This is a powerful group, family that's listening. We should have this place loaded. This book is monumental as far as the strategies for Black people for liberation. Worldwide Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. This study group is just amazing. We got gifted people who their input is just definitely opening my mind to a lot of things I didn't even think about in that chapter. You know what I mean? That's why I read the chapter, but then I come here and I'm like, yeah, I read that, but I didn't get that revelation there. So it's definitely a powerful group, and I'm just happy to be with the team.
Fantastic, brother.
Indeed.
Brother T.
Family, once again, I wish I can be every week, be a part of the panel. I'm definitely reading my pages, definitely enjoying it, learning a lot. And I'm always telling a friend, someone I meet walking around the reservoir, when they ask me why I'm carrying this big book as I'm walking, I'm hoping that I inspire someone. Even me when I'm going to the supermarket, I'm carrying something. I'll make a T-shirt to say Blueprint for Black Power. Just when they ask me, what is that? I just want to make sure that we let people know. And I know that people are coming back, watching the videos and looking at the impact that each person in this panel is putting into place.
Yes.
I've heard wonderful things about everyone's input. and I just know that it's working, and I appreciate every last one of you. Every Saturday, at 2800 St. Louis Drive, I meet and we talk about Neely Fuller's book, United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept.
Yes.
And what we're doing right now, we meet every Saturday, and me and a group are putting together some opportunities that we can do in the community. And we're looking at self-preservation activities, such as learning how to fish, learn how to camp, learn how to purify water, plant our own herbs. If we have to, if something hits the fan, learn what to do next for ourselves and our family.
Yes.
And we also put together a weekly report on each of the activities that Neely Fuller talks about, and we report on them and how we use it, and based on his principles, based on his thought, how it details today. So each person in the group, just like we're doing right now, read it, and we add our input. But we take this and also see how we can teach someone else in the community. I don't know if you see, I also wear the shirts to say, produce justice. Because that's one of his whole teachings, is that in everything that we do, our job on a daily basis is to solve a problem. And number two is to produce justice and correctness in all activities of our lives. So once again, I thank you so much for putting this together and being consistent in this program. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. So thank you.
And sorry, Brother T. I thought Dr. Maat was talking about Brother T for Travis. Sorry about that, Dr. Maat.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Sister Lima.
Dr. Maat,
Yes.
I don't know about you, but after hearing that, I'm like, oh my goodness, the brother's on fire. And I think, that's what he's putting together. It might be something that we can implement maybe later going forward, like
Absolutely.
and then bringing. I'm sure y'all were probably y'all creative juices was flowing as well, but doing something similar what this brother is doing. I'm going to implement that with our book club here. But go ahead, brother. I'm done. Bye.
Absolutely. I think it's a phenomenal idea. Phenomenal. Absolutely.
That book,
when he showed me the book, when he put the book on Facebook, I was like, oh, it's like I can't even, if I would be embarrassed to show you guys my library right now. I have a lot of books that I read, and then a lot of books that I need to read. And Dr. Neely Fuller is one. So when you put that up on Facebook, I'm reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to step up, because I'm reading this right now, bro. I'm also reading the developmental psychology of the Black child, so it's like, but man, I got to catch up with you, bro, because I definitely want to read that Neely Fuller text. And like you said, implement a lot of those ideas, write up reports.
Right. And talk to him on Wednesday, every Wednesday on Talktainment Radio.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to give him a call, talk to him, ask him questions, and he's 88 years old. His ancestor, he's still here,
Yeah. I'm on that site religiously. Victims of racist white supremacy. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How do we get his book?
On his site. It's called producejustice.com.
I'm gonna get that book.
Yeah, and he wants everyone to get it on that site, because the proceeds go to him, And
right, versus Amazon. I think.
And you'll get both of them. He got the Word Guide and also the revised one, and both of them.
Producejustice.com.
Yes, producejustice.com.
Gotcha.
Producejustice.com. So we gotta support. The elder, like you said, he's still here. Let's support him. Let's study his work. Let's ask him all the questions that we can ask him, like you said, while we have them. Sister Alima, do you have your closing words?
Well, family, of course, I will put up once again. You can go to my site and you can subscribe. And I am in the editor's board. Sorry, family. You can subscribe to my site. And I also neglected to mention my personal blog. Let me pull this up right here. And it's Lily La Poete. Well, it's lilylapoete.wordpress.com. And this is more so my personal blog. You know, Lily La Poete Speaks is the mother blog. It's like the daughter blog. And you can come here too, and we can just chop it up about different things. Got some featured poetry here, also available from my book, Perceptions of a Misplaced African, Volume 1. As you know, you can get it from here, family, and I would prefer that you order the book from the website, lilylapoetespeaks.com. Reflections of a Misplaced African, which is Volume 2, should be out early 2018, so sometime next year. And I'm also working on another book, family, that I will let you know about very shortly. But you can get your copy of your book. You can also get some things from Meltrek on our marketplace here, family. And you can check out my husband's book as well. Aaron Knows About Africa. It's a great book. Dr. Maat talks about all the time. You can come here and check out some other things. And really, that's about it, family. And be sure to subscribe to my daughter blog as well.
I love it.
And that will be all.
Beautiful, sis. Beautiful, 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 beautiful website. And watch this. Jalen. Jay. Bring me your Aaron Knows About Africa book. All right. See, I don't see, Sister Lima, and I do this because I don't recommend things to people that I don't utilize. You know how you say, go get this. You know what I mean? Go get that. And they don't have it. You go to their home, they don't have it, but they tell you to go get it. Everything, thank you, Poo-Poo. Everything that I tell you to go get, I get it because I have it and I utilize it. So this is a beautiful book. I believe that I showed it in the last episode. Beautiful book that teaches your children facts about Africa. This is a quality book, you know, beautiful book. All right. So even if you don't have children, I'm pretty sure you have nieces and nephews.
I don't have it. I'm definitely gonna get that.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's a beautiful book. Lele would love it. Teaches children about South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, you know. I mean, it's
Naomi Bradley and my husband, Benjamin Njai, are the authors.
Yes, Senegal. Look at this. And it has the flags of the countries that it highlights in the book. This is a beautiful book. Again, I just don't tell you guys to get it and I don't have it. I'm a huge proponent for African-centered education. If you can't homeschool your kids, the least you can do is invest in tools to counter or combat the miseducation that they are receiving in the classroom. So if you can't pull your child out to homeschool your child, or if you don't live in a community that has an African-centered school, then you can at least invest in films and books to combat the miseducation of your child, our baby, okay? And I'm even wearing, I don't know if you guys can see my shirt, the Uruhu Academy. The Uruhu Academy by Baba Amin out in Texas.
Yeah.
This was a fundraiser for them. And I went and bought, you see, I had Dr. John Henry Clark on my one shoulder. Look, Dr. Ben on another. I got Khalid Muhammad right here. And then, where's Dr. Francis Cress Wilson? Here's Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. Here's Joe. So, I support them. This is a t-shirt, the Uruhu Academy, right in out in Texas, okay, Baba Amin.
Yeah, that's
and
good
so
brother.
He's a great brother. Mm-hmm. Earlier today we were talking about Sister Akua Agassi. Hear her books.
I never heard of her.
Imhotep Learning Concepts. So this book is teaching our babies basic math. But look at what it's incorporating. Look at this. Look at these symbols. The Ankh, the Kepera, right?
Dr. Maat. Spell her name, Dr. Maat.
It's AKUA.
Mm-hmm.
It's AKUA. Mm-hmm. AGUSI, and y'all can get those books from www.cultivatedrootsmedia.com. Again, that's www.cultivatedrootsmedia.com.
And look at, I just want to show you what, and look at this. Kings and queens who look like them. This is what she's utilizing to teach children how to count, how to add, how to subtract. Look at this, the Nefertiti's, the pharaohs. All right, beautiful book, Imhotep's Learning Concepts. Then she has a book by a book about Marcus Garvey. Beautiful book. She's teaching our babies about the UNIA and the Black Star Line ships and showing our babies pictures of, look at this, proud Black men and women. This is what this book is phenomenal. Okay. Then you got another book, Madam C.J. Walker, Road to Success. And when I say that my son and I have read this book a zillion times, we've read it a zillion times. So I don't just tell you guys to go get something and I don't have it in my collection. I tell you go get it because I have it and I utilize it. All right, which leads me to my own stuff. Let me share my screen really fast. I know I said we were going to close out at 9. People are like, what's going on? Okay, Meltrek, please visit edanimeproductions.com to purchase your copies of Meltrek. We have options now. We don't need to keep watching Disney. We don't need to keep watching Cartoon Network.
Exactly.
We don't need to keep on watching Nickelodeon, right? Because all they're doing is indoctrinating our babies with filth. Because when I look at these animations, and I look at them sometimes, I notice that a lot of these new age animations contain political and social messages.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That they're exposing our babies to. And so as parents, we have to control the media that our children are exposed to. We have to control it. We have to control it. And one way you can control it or counter, and I don't want to say counter it, I don't think our babies should be exposed to certain things at all. So instead of exposing them to Disney and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, expose them to Meltrek, all right? An animated series that teaches African history. I hate saying African American because it's just like a separation, but it teaches African history from an African perspective. We currently have Meltrek episode 1, Exploring Ancient Africa, available. The objective of this episode is to teach our babies that the history of people of African descent does not begin with slavery, but with humanity and with great civilizations. And so we take a group of children back in time to explore different parts of Africa, and they learn that Africa, contributed science, mathematics, and religion to the world. That these Africans were responsible for building, pyramids, and that Africa is a continent of an abundance of natural resources, and that there were kings, Black kings and queens who look just like them. Okay, so that's what our babies learn in Meltrek episode 1. Meltrek episode 2, we teach the babies about the Aboriginal cultures of the Americas, and we also teach our babies that there was an African presence in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus. Now let me add this caveat. We're not teaching the babies that we are the Native Americans or we were the Olmecs, Mayans, Aztecs, and Incas. We are saying that there was an African presence in the Americas prior to Christopher Columbus, and then we present them with Africans that came over. You have King Abubakar, who Malian scholars believe made it to Brazil around 1321. And then we also teach the babies about the papyrus ship and the Pyramid of Khufu, and argue that they had the technology, they had the knowledge of shipbuilding. So we could make it here. We did make it here. And anyway, so without rambling on about Meltrek episode 2, please visit edanimeproductions.com. Grab your copy of the Meltrek film. Not only do we have films, we also have books. This book right here should be dropping in about 2 weeks. Meltrek Exploring Ancient Africa storybook. An audio will be included. We also have color and activity books. And the purpose of these books is to really inculcate the information in the minds of our children. We don't want them to just watch the film and say, oh, mommy, daddy, that was a great film. We want them to understand the material, and we want them to, most importantly, retain the material. So that's the whole reason. That's the reason why we decided to produce supplementary materials such as coloring books and audio storybooks. We also have unit plans available for, let me bring that up. We also have unit plans, and I had to update the website because we actually have several unit plans. I think only 2 are on the website, but we have unit plans available for the Meltrek films. So and in these unit plans, you get lessons, you get a Meltrek learning packet, and you also get a pre and post assessment to gauge how much your child, knows or how much they learned. So we have unit plans available. Again, I have to update this website to include it. I'm actually going to put the unit plans in the store so parents can just kind of click on it and then receive a link and download the unit plans. So anyway, we have unit plans available, and I want to leave you guys with this infomercial right here. Okay, here we go.
Now available on DVD, The Extraordinary Education of Hip Hop Series, created by the youth and for the youth. Bell Trek, Episode 1, Exploring Ancient Africa. Join the adventure with Munchie, Percy, Jesse, Jen, and Michelle as they travel back in time to explore the great kingdoms of Africa. Children will learn about the geography of Africa, its rulers, culture, and great structures. They will uncover their greatness by realizing that we all come from great places.
Hi, my name is Anna Bailey Scrivener, an educator in the Baltimore City Public School System for over 35 years. And I am excited about Meltrack, and I do recommend it. Hello, I am Dr. Cynthia Neverdine Morton, a former professor of history at Coppin State University in Baltimore, Maryland. And I highly recommend Meltrack as an informative, engaging, and innovative way for youngsters to learn about their history.
Hi, my name is Charnay. I'm an educator with over 15 years of experience, and I recommend Meltrack.
So give your child the greatest gift of all, knowledge. Just visit our online shop at edanimateproductions.com to purchase your copy of Meltrack Episode 1, available on DVD. Also available at our online shop, the Meltrack soundtrack for digital download only. Like us on Facebook, follow us also on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ed Animated Productions to stay connected with us always. So join the adventure as we all recall that we all come from greatness, so we can be great.
Nice. I like it. I love it.
Thank you.
Dr. Matt, do you do the video editing?
No, I have there's a brother in Baltimore, Brandon Walter, and he does the video editing.
Very talented brother.
So no, I don't. I'll let him know. I'll let him know what you said. I'll pass it on to him. But he did that for me. He did that for me. He put the commercial. I gave him my voiceover, and he put that commercial together.
Nice.
And so that was my mom and Anna Bailey Scribner. And then you had Dr. Cynthia Neverdine Morton. She taught African American Studies over at Coppin State for about 35, 40 years. So that was her voice. And then the other one was Shawnee Bowens. She has, it says 15 years of experience, but she actually has about 18, 19 years of experience because this commercial was like 3 or 4 years old. But yeah, man, let's support Meltrack. We're working on Meltrack Episode 3, Exploring the African Diaspora, Part 1. We'll be teaching our babies about the transatlantic slave trade. And we're going to teach it from a position of triumph. You know, we're going to tell the stories of African people who fought back, who fought colonialism and enslavement. You never hear those stories. You know, people think that, you know, they came into Africa and, you know, waltzed out with millions of people and there was no fight. You know, you know, it was easy. You know, they think that so we're going to talk about the different people who rebelled, and our babies will learn about the Yasatiwas and the Queen Nzingas and the King Badus, and, you know, people who died before they died before they accepted, you know, colonialism and enslavement. So we'll be talking about folks like that. And with Part 1, we'll probably end with the middle passage. I actually have, I don't want to jump ahead. I got some of the music for Meltrack Episode 3 right now. And I'm telling y'all, it's going to be a banger. So please support the Meltrack project. Visit edanimateproductions.com. I don't even ask people to donate anymore. Sister Camille, Brother T, you know, I just say buy the DVD, because every dime that you give us, all we're going to do is dump that back into creating more products for our children. You know, so Black people, we got to get into the habit of not supporting with our mouths and liking things on Facebook and sharing. That's cool because that does bring awareness to, you know, a particular product or service. But we have to start supporting each other with our resources. That means going in my pocket, taking out $20, $10, or $15, and actually supporting brothers and sisters. We got to support. We got to do less talking and more acting. All right, more acting, more giving, more supporting. Okay. So with that said, next week we're going to finish up the second half of chapter 9. I don't have anything else, Sister Alima. Do you have anything else, Queen?
I do not, Queen. I do not.
Okay, so family, please have a wonderful and productive week. Again, go to, I keep saying Lala. It's Lele. Lele. Okay, so we're going to blog. If you guys want to blog about or exchange some ideas about Blueprint for Black Power, please go to lililapoetespeaks.com. Subscribe. Get on the blog so we can politic throughout the week on Blueprint for Black Power. If you don't have the text, you can go to lililapoetespeaks.com, purchase the text, or you can hit me up, Deanna Bailey, on Facebook to get the Blueprint for Black Power text. We're selling it for $40. It's been autographed by Brother Sababu, who is the editor and publisher of the book. This book was published posthumously, so Dr. Amos Wilson had already transitioned when it published, but Sababu made sure that he published this wonderful manuscript. And so look, he signed, we have autographed copies. I think it's about 6 left because I sold one this week. So get your copies. And with that, peace and Black Power, family.
Peace and love.
Black Power. I share.